Today on Laser Update, we take a rainy day romp around campus to de-stress before the end of the semester.
Then, we sit down with Mawini's own Professor Rhiannon Cathcart to find out more about the evolution and influence of her writing.
All this and more on Laser Update. Good morning and welcome to the beginning of the end. Today is May 2nd and we are currently 11 days away from the end of the 2024 spring semester. Lou, how do you feel about the fast encroaching end?
I don't feel too bad about it. I got most of my coursework done, so it's pretty much smooth sailing from here. How about you?
I'm feeling the same way, just waiting for that summer weather to finally kick in, you know? Right. April's showers bring May flowers, and no one experienced that better than our SOL officers and a small group of wanderers who took a gander around our beautiful campus on a gray and cloudy day. We go to Kodak Trombley to hear more about it.
With finals week fast approaching, OCC's SOL office has been planning events to keep students relaxed and ready for their big exams. Even if the skies are gray, our SOL officers are doing their best to keep things sunny.
What we're doing is one of our events for this month. It's the nature walk. We kind of just wanted to have an event for students, kind of get them out of their headspace, especially with finals coming up. I know I'm currently procrastinating doing my homework, so it's just a fun way to get out, get outside, see the sun that Syracuse has to offer.
Lauren Lundrigan, OCC Engagement Coordinator, wanted to get students moving and keep their minds active while still showing off our beautiful campus.
So I'm actually in graduate school for physical therapy, so one of my inspirations was just kind of the importance of exercise and getting out and kind of moving, and that's something that can really help individuals de-stress. And like Elizabeth said, finals are coming up, so just kind of a way to get outside, get moving, and that was kind of the inspiration.
Wishing you happy trails and finals good luck, I'm Kodak Trombley for Laser Update.
You know what they say, you can't have a rainbow without a little rain, and even if the skies were gray, it didn't seem to ruin anybody's day. To find out more about events on campus, be sure to keep an eye on your school emails. I guarantee you Sean Eady's trying to let you know what's going on.
Well, when it's not time to take a leisurely stroll around campus, most of our classmates are trying to get to and from school. OCC has a partnership with the ride-sharing app Lyft, but which do students prefer? Our mobile reporter, Kodak Trombley, went around campus to find out.
Howdy folks, today we're cruising around OCC to check out the pulse of the campus. Today's hot topic, what's better for getting you to and from school, Uber or Lyft?
Probably a Lyft because for Uber, it's only like 18 plus and I'm 17, so it allows me to order a Lyft by myself and not with my parents.
I prefer Uber because I don't recall if Lyft has the same protections, but I've just heard stories about Lyft compared to Uber. I want to say Lyft's prices are better though, so it's the territory.
I just prefer Uber because it's just more common for me. I never really use Lyft.
Well, y'all, that's how we feel down here at OCC. Until next time, I'm Kodak Trombley for Laser Update, rolling out and heading back to the studio.
Looks like our students are leaning more towards Lyft's competitors. Looks like our administrators might have some reconsidering to do regarding our future with Lyft. Or you could always hop on the bus for $1, but you'll probably want to bring a book for that one.
After the break, we head over to Coulter and Mawini to learn a little more about women empowerment and a women's studies professor.
And later, did you know that Syracuse was home to a prison break that helped hurl our country into the Civil War? But first, the ASL Club is hosting a deaf community panel tomorrow, Friday, May 3rd, during college hour, that's 12:15 to 1:15, in the Gordon Great Hall, featuring Rebecca Dady and John Nicole.
Why did I choose OCC? To be a better communicator.
To be an English teacher. To be a better environmental scientist. Why will you choose OCC?
Why will you choose OCC?
The facilities at OCC are very good. The SRC especially, we have 2 gyms, one just for athletes. OCC helped in many ways. for my adaptation to the US. OCC helped me dealing with the stress of sports in school with the tutors and laser Sussex. The tutoring, it's free, so I really don't have to worry about anything else. People that work here are here to help you.
Everyone's really like-minded. Everyone enjoys working with each other. We all basically combined our minds and help each other in fixing the issues with these cars and figuring out the labs. And you go in the lab, you fix cars, you figure out electronic circuits, you figure out brake issues or suspension issues, fixing cars, learning how to diagnose issues, learning how things work, like how brakes work and how engines work and how suspension works. You learn every single field, electronics, you learn all the fields that have to do with mechanics.
What will your OCC story be?
Get ready for Color Bash Week, hosted by the Seoul office. Events will be hosted all next week in the Mawini Quad. There will be games, activities, snacks, and more from May 6th to May 9th. Keep an eye out for updates and wear something colorful. Welcome back to the May 2nd edition of Laser Update. We've already talked about getting to campus and walking around, but now it's time to settle in and put on our learning caps.
We have a lot of colorful characters making up the tapestry that is OCC. But this week we shine our spotlight on a writer, photographer, and circus performer, Professor Rhiannon Catherwood, who hopes to help her students find themselves in new and creative ways.
Rhiannon Catherwood is a professor of English and Women's Studies at OCC who uses her writing to express and discover herself and hopes to be teaching her students to do the same.
Well, I started off when I was younger as a fiction writer. And, you know, I liked writing, I wrote novels, I wrote a lot of fantasy, I wrote a lot of, like, imaginative things. But somewhere in the middle of my 20s, I switched to writing nonfiction. And I kind of like to say, I started writing nonfiction when I started living a more non-fictional life. I started writing basically about transition, about gender transition, because that was the time that I came out and started becoming myself. And it's also where I got more successful, like with writing and with life. There's an old saying that the only way to know what you think is to see what you say. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, where we sometimes only find our own understanding of ourselves by trying to express it. In English 103, one of the writing assignments is a creative piece that asks people to dig into their memories and use them to share insights and talk about who they are. And the number of times I've had a student, come out or share family secrets or just sort of clearly bare their heart in a way that I don't think they have before is stunning. And it really says something, I think, about how anxious people are to do that. And the writing becomes sort of a vehicle for that.
It's the vehicle that will also drive her students towards their future as more honest creators. For Laser Update, I'm Kodak Trombley.
Professor Catherwood may only be one of the many marvelous professors here at OCC, but pull a single thread and sometimes the whole thing will come undone. Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up, but you should always take some time to thank the professors and educators who have helped you the most.
Last month, OCC's Office of Social Justice, Equity, and Inclusion was host to Maria Alejandra Pozo, who came to talk to OCC students about women breaking barriers in Latin America. Laser's Update's very own Marcos Molino went out to learn more about the women leading that change.
Earlier in the semester, on March 27th, tax expert Maria Alejandra Pozo visited OCC for an event in the Coulter Hall to discuss the barriers women face in Latin America compared to the United States. The event was hosted by the Department of Social Justice, Equity, and Inclusion.
I think I came out with a better perspective on the importance of women empowerment and the need to break those barriers and break down those walls and bring the attention to more women in the workforce, both in the private and the personal sector.
Currently, she's attending Syracuse University to gain international perspectives in her fight for change in taxation and personal data protection, along with improvements in public policies focused on the empowerment of women.
I think that even as men, right, sometimes we don't think about the obvious things that women, especially women of color, have to deal with on a daily basis. Things that she had to deal with professionally as a woman, seeing powerful women and how that helped her kind of find her voice and, be more confident in herself. I think it was a really good event for sure.
Just as Maria said at her event, empowerment is something we can do every day. We can always make that next person we meet feel included, heard, and respected in the community. For Laser Update, this is Marcos Molina.
It's impressive to see how many of our students care about the empowerment of women and bettering themselves as supporters. We're always hosting events here on campus to help students better themselves as people, even when we're running out of time. Keep an eye on your campus calendar to see who else is visiting before the end of the semester.
There's still more learning yet to come, but don't turn away. Remember, it's good to learn something new every day. After the break, we'll be taking a quick trip back 170 years into the past. But first,
a very sweet 16 to Marvel's Iron Man, which rocketed the MCU into everyone's hearts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the origins of today's Iron Man, starring Robert Downey Jr., Jeff Bridges, and Gwyneth Paltrow on Disney+.
When in high school, I wasn't like the best student grade-wise, and that didn't leave me many options, so I either had to decide between there or here, or SUNY Broome, which is in my hometown, and I wanted to get away instead of living at home, so I decided to go here. I really enjoy the teachers, professors. They all seem very interested in teaching and friendly, and I feel like the community here is, for the most part, just all great.
OCC has helped me not only financially, but also socially.
Well, it's very nice to have a school like this that has a dormitory, and I wanted to put myself into a position where I can kind of surround myself with learning.
OCC has helped me getting started in college life, technically, also in my adult life. Sometimes I'm particularly making a big step for myself, and I'm starting to make choices for my own.
I've been able to make a lot of new friends since I came here.
I found that by going to OCC, it allowed me to enter in programs that would allow me to focus on my personal life and my work. I think most professors here do want to see you succeed. All faculty here is definitely more than happy to help, with any scheduling or future planning, or in regards to grades or anything like that. I find most professors are more than willing. I could realistically recommend anyone to attend.
Want to feel like you're a hop, skip, and a jump from the old soda fountain? Do you miss the days of dancing like a rubber horse cartoon? Well, don't miss this magic moment and tune into Basement Boys Retro Rewind on Supermix, Onondaga's Campus Connection. The show runs from 4 to 5 p.m. today on the TuneIn Radio app. Or if you feel like being special, you can catch it on Dorm Channel 15.
We're just about halfway through this Thursday's Laser Updates, but today we're rounding out our show with a quick trip down history lane.
As residents of a nearly 200-year-old city, it can be easy to miss all the historic markers and monuments that Salt City holds. But, as the saying goes, forget history and you're often doomed to repeat it. Kodak Trombley took us down to Clinton Square to teach us about a time when Syracuse came together to fight injustice.
You may know that New York was a safe haven for escaped and freed slaves during the late 1800s, but did you know that 170 years ago, Syracuse was the epicenter of a plot that divided the nation even further? In 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act was signed into law. It was as straightforward as it sounds, but basically it meant slaves needed to be returned to their owners, even in free states. Well, William Jerry Henry was an escaped slave and barrel worker in Syracuse. In 1851, Jerry was arrested at work under the Fugitive Slave Act. Jerry did resist arrest, but was nonetheless taken into custody to await a hearing that would determine his fate. Now, soon after the Fugitive Slave Act was passed in 1850, a gathering was held at Syracuse City Hall to discuss how citizens should abide by the new law. In attendance was one Reverend Jermaine Logan, a prominent abolitionist who had escaped slavery himself in 1837. The father had this to say to the citizens of Central New York: "I tell you, the people of Syracuse and of the whole North must meet this tyranny and crush it by force or be crushed by it. The time has come to change the tones of submission into tones of defiance. I say, if you stand with us in resistance to this measure, you will be the saviors of your country. Your decision tonight in favor of resistance will give vent to the spirit of liberty and shout for joy all over the North. Heaven knows that this will break out somewhere. May God grant that Syracuse be the honored spot, whence it shall send an earthquake voice through the land." By the end of that meeting, a biracial vigilance committee was created to resist the Fugitive Slave Act. This group included not only Reverends Logan and Samuel May, but many distinguished New Yorkers and Syracuse natives, including a future Republican congressman, the former Syracuse mayor, and a handful of affluent abolitionists from central New York. Their promise was that no man shall be taken from Syracuse a slave, and no power shall force the Fugitive Slave Act upon it. When Jerry was arrested, Vigilance Committee member Charles Wheaton was nearby and saw the whole thing happen. He quickly fled to the First Congregational Church on East Genesee Street, where the Liberty Party happened to be holding its anti-slavery convention at the time. Upon hearing the news of Jerry's arrest, the meeting quickly came to an end as the crowd headed towards the Townsend Block, which once occupied the south side of Clinton Square. Church bells rang throughout the city, signaling everyone that one of their own had been taken, causing the surrounding crowd to grow larger and larger around the building. Reverends Logan and May followed Liberty Party Garrett Smith into Commissioner Sabine's chambers, which quickly became overrun due to the size of the crowd, forcing Sabine to postpone the hearing. Jerry was spurred on by the crowd and made a break for the door. He managed to escape half a mile down the Erie Canal, still in chains, before he was apprehended, beaten, and returned into custody, where his hearing eventually started again in a bigger police office on Clinton Street. As Jerry's hearing continued, the crowd only grew larger and rowdier, reaching up to 3,000 people by Reverend Logan's account. Many of them were armed with stones, clubs, and axes while they screamed for Jerry's release. After a stone almost hit Commissioner Sabine's head, the hearing was delayed until the next day, and Jerry was placed in a back room with the hopes that the crowd would eventually disperse. This adjournment gave the Vigilance Committee time to concoct an escape plan for Jerry. Around 8 p.m. that evening, an unknown person gave the signal, causing everyone to charge and attack the building. Citizens smashed windows, used a battering ram to break down the door, and even went so far as to remove bricks from the walls. Deputy marshals fired into the crowd, but it was clear that it was too big and too determined to be stopped. Jerry was freed from his holding cell by two men, Peter Hollenbeck and William Gray, who then carried Jerry out into the streets, where he was unshackled outside the Syracuse house and placed into a carriage, where he was eventually smuggled off to Kingston, Canada, where he lived in freedom for 2 years until he died. Jerry's liberation was the earthquake that Father Logan predicted just 1 year before, the aftershock of which forced the Reverend into exile in Canada, separating from his family for almost 6 months. Not only that, Jerry's freedom divided the country even further, becoming one of the many key moments that eventually resulted in the Civil War. Annual celebrations commemorating the event began just 1 year later. The Townsend Block, which once held Jerry, would be renamed the Jerry Rescue Building before it was demolished in 1974, later being replaced by a bronze monument sculpted by Sharon Beaumont in 2001 on the southwest corner of Clinton Square in downtown Syracuse. The statue depicts Jerry with Reverends Logan and May on a star-shaped platform, a light in the darkness that aligns with the actual points of a compass for his journey. And now you know why Syracuse can be proud to stake its claim in the fight for freedom, with the Jerry Rescue being one of the many great examples of how people from all races, genders, and backgrounds banded together in this community to fight against the evils of slavery.
To learn more about this monumentous event, you can visit the Onondaga Historical Museum downtown, located at 321 Montgomery Street. It's only $5 to learn a little more about your city's history, or children 12 and under can get in for free. To find out more, visit cnyhistory.org.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today's Killer Laser Update. Remember, we're only 11 days out from the end of the semester.
Do your work, but remember to take it easy and enjoy the sun while we've got it.
Until next time, I'm Aiden Mead.
And I'm Lou Kaminsky. Thank you for watching, and if you don't hear from us again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.